So, I haven't shared a lot of my Vietnam stories. Well, I shared pretty much the full story about the first time that I was there, but trying to put 5 months of living in a foreign country into a series of stories is hard. So, I'm just going to do the age-old Barry stories format, and eventually you guys will have all of my favorite stories from my second experience in Vietnam. So, without any further ado, let's get into the stories. This first one happened in the middle of the night. There'd be so many times where I was just walking through Vietnam at around 2 in the morning. It was always so warm, the streets were quiet and calm, and there were always these 24-hour markets on every corner just in case I wanted some sort of pick-me-up. So there I am, I'm headed to the store, it's about 3 a.m., when I started to walk past this small group of Vietnamese men. It was a group of 4 old guys who had this large speaker and a microphone attached to it, and they were screaming out karaoke songs and drinking beer in the middle of the night. These guys were out in the middle of the street at 3 a.m. and nobody seemed upset at them. As I was walking down the street, they started shouting at me in Vietnamese, so I walked over there and I sat down. This was the greatest thing about Vietnam. I never felt unsafe. I never assumed that anyone was going to try to jump me or kidnap me and sell my parts to China or anything. I just walked up to the table, they popped open a beer for me, and they forced the microphone into my hands. So, in the middle of the night, I sang Ring of Fire with a group of strangers, and after I was done, I continued on my walk, got my candy bar, and I headed home. I really love how the people are over there, and the situations you find yourself in. If I ever go again, I'm going to have a GoPro attached to my chest at all times, because I swear to God, you end up in the strangest and most magical situations every damn day, and there are so many stories that I know I've forgotten just because of how much happens to you on the regular out there. This is the thing, too, about the people. They're so happy and grateful for everything. Like this one day, I got myself a Grab so I could go home. Now, a Grab is essentially a taxi, except for it's a motorbike. Some Vietnamese guy will pick you up, give you a helmet, take you wherever you need to go, and this is always a blast. Either way, this one day I get a Grab, and the guy on the bike was so happy when he realized that he was picking up an American. The dude shook my hand when he dropped me off. Shook my hand. What the hell did I do but exist, right? Here's another one. I'm in the mall one day, and I walk out of the bathroom and start heading down the hall towards the rest of the mall, when this guy stops me. He tells me that he's waiting for his sister to get out of the bathroom, and he needs her to take a photo of him and I together. I'm no celebrity, I'm just some random-ass white guy, but it makes them so happy that you're there experiencing their country with them. When she got out of the bathroom, they both ended up needing a picture with me. Honestly, they made me feel like Brad Pitt or something. Oh, there was this other time. God, I have so many of these examples, but these people are just amazing. But I'd taken my briefcase gaming PC out to Vietnam with me, and I've been using that as my everyday PC. Only thing was, I'd forgotten to grab a mouse pad, and instead of ordering one off AliExpress, I decided to go into some of the computer shops around my area. Well, I get into one of them, and the guys inside were so chill. They were just gamers who enjoyed being around tech. They showed me their graphics cards, they had their PCs they built. The topic of myself being a YouTuber got mentioned somehow. I mean, I don't know, it's not like I'm a narcissist or anything like that, but either way, they were so happy. We've never met a YouTuber before, they said, and they gave me a mouse pad for free. I said, guys, no, I can pay for this. I mean, Jesus, stuff like this in Vietnam costs nothing. And they said to me, well, if we leave you with a good impression, you'll probably come back. And you made our day for stopping by, so take it on the house. This was amazing, and just a few examples of how beautiful the people in this country are. Now that I'm looking at all my stories, the majority of them are about the people and how cool they are. Okay, so there I am. I'm walking down the road. It's about 11 p.m. Now mind you, in Vietnam, in certain districts, things tend to shut down around 10 o'clock. Of course, in the bigger part of the city, District 1 and so on, they'll stay open, but for the most part, the city sleeps at 10. So there I am. I'm walking down an empty street when I hear this motorbike blazing down the road behind me. I move off to the side of the road, and out of the corner of my eye, I see the guy on the bike crash. His bike skids across the asphalt, and he rolls a couple times before coming to a stop. Before the bike stopped moving, hell, before the guy stopped rolling, there were more Vietnamese outside surrounding this guy than I'd previously seen. This was a dead-ass empty street, and all of a sudden there were like 8 to 15 people surrounding this guy faster than I could even think about what happened. Making sure he was okay, getting his bike back up for him, it was one of the most loving things I'd ever seen. And I felt like such an asshole for sitting there for as long as I did. I was easily the closest person to the crash, and I was the last person to make it over to the guy. Never again. That moment changed me forever. I will always be there when it's obvious someone could use my help. There's no excuse after seeing stuff like that. That's just amazing. It wasn't all sunshines and rainbows out in Vietnam, though. Things can get pretty tricky out there, especially if you end up meeting the wrong crowd of people. Apparently, there are hundreds of people getting kidnapped and sold to other countries for the worst things, and I never really let that thought worry me too much. I mean, if someone wants me to be a sex slave, well, I guess they'd have to at least be feeding me some pretty good drugs so I stay compliant. God, that makes me sound so bad, but this last story isn't exactly far off from that. So, there I was, I'm walking down this random street in Saigon when I stumble upon this bar. Now, this bar was right on the side of the road attached to other buildings, and they had an outside patio for people to sit down and drink on, as well as an indoor bar where the majority of the people were. Well, I'm walking past this bar, just kind of checking it out, when I noticed this Indian guy and this white guy sitting out on the patio looking back at me. The Indian guy shouts out, "Hey man, how you doing tonight? Come on over, man, have a drink with us." I smiled at them and I walked over for a chat. Now, I never went into the bar or even onto the patio. I stayed out on the street. I was talking to both of them for about a minute when they handed me a glass of alcohol. I asked them what it was, and they replied that it was just some beer on tap and that the rest of their group was inside enjoying the pitcher. I looked inside and saw a table full of friends all cheersing with each other and drinking what it seemed to be I had been given, so I drank it down as I chatted with the guys outside. Once I finished my drink, I thanked them for the alcohol, and I continued on my way down the street. Now I'd been walking for about 30 minutes when something started to feel off. I remember thinking to myself, why does it feel like I'm coming up on mushrooms right now? And I started to get worried. Did these guys spike my drink? Wait, that doesn't make any sense. If they did, they would have wanted to keep me around the area, right? But I should not be feeling any effects from the alcohol. It's been about 30 minutes since I drank anything. Now this scared me. I had no idea if I was coming up on an opiate or an amphetamine, and I was going to end up methed out or addicted to some dangerous chemical, so I started walking down into the more popular streets just in case. I wound up at the party district, and when I got there, I started sharing my effects with people in hopes that they knew what was happening to me. I met this larger blonde lady, and I told her how I was feeling. Hey, so I think someone slipped me something. I feel really light, everything smells like fruit, which honestly could have just been the streets of Vietnam. I'm feeling a lot of energy, music is hitting me like crazy, and I feel a lot of love. The lady looked at me and laughed and said, "Oh man, don't even worry about it. I'm rolling all the time. You sound like you're on ecstasy. You're perfectly fine." That made me feel a lot better. I imagine the party people at the bar must have put MDMA in their pitcher, and maybe those guys didn't even realize they dosed me. Either that or they wanted to dick around with some random kids in Vietnam, but once I found out it was ecstasy, I really had a great time. I went dancing, really felt the tunes. I fell in love with the city in a whole new way that I'd never experienced before. I mean, hell, I'd never tried MDMA before. And I've honestly never had a reason to want to try it again. But for a first experience, I had a good time. The only question with this experience is, why would anyone share their MDMA with strangers? Isn't that stuff expensive? I've got a lot more of these stories. Honestly, I could just sit here and share them with you all day, but I'll give you a break to go watch your other YouTubers. Thank you guys so much. I gotta say, YouTube has been making it quite hard to get my videos out lately. So if you guys could help me out, share my videos around, I'd really appreciate it. Either that, or you can leave them on in the background all day. Your choice. Thank you guys, and I will see you next time.